among the law colleges in India in the NIRF 2023 ranking and is approved by the Bar Council of India. With a centered emphasis on experiential learning and research, the Alliance School of Law leverages a combination of world-class academicians and legal practitioners, fostering generations of lawyers through cutting-edge legal education. This webinar today is brought to you by Mindler. Mindler is India's leading career counseling firm, which focuses on helping students achieve career clarity. They have helped lakhs of students and partnered with more than 150 reputed schools across India to achieve the same. They have the world's most advanced career planning platform for schools developed by a team of alumni from Harvard, ISB, IIT, IIM, along with the world's leading psychometrician. It has been incubated by IIM Ahmedabad and ISB Hyderabad. Mindler has been awarded the Best Career Guidance Platform by National Startup Awards, Entrepreneur India, and Education World. They have also been awarded and recognized by the Ministry of Science and Technology India and the Ministry of State UAE. With that, I would like to thank all of you one more time for joining us today and pass the session over to Ms. Shilpa. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Pari. Good evening, everyone. Good to be here. And I'm glad to see so many of you here interested in law as a profession. It's one of those professions that I think will always be there. I also have an affinity because I worked with a law firm for many years. 9 years of my career was spent in working in a law firm. I was in the HR side, but I would like to be able to think of myself as one of the most, because of human resources, the strongest non-litigating person that was there. I was generally fighting with everybody. But as a profession and as an area, lawyers have always gained a great deal of respect. There is a lot of gravitas behind the profession. From the different types of law there are to practice, which of course Professor Shashank will be able to tell us more about as well as we go forward. One of the elements that becomes very important is law as a profession and as a degree is what sometimes sets the tone for how a country is going to run, what will take place in its different branches of judiciary, of executive, of how our politicians can behave, how our institutions can behave with us. There's a lot of power that comes from the law, right? Specifically. What therefore becomes very important is law as a profession needs to also be something that needs to keep updating. So you would have all seen in the news, we've also changed how we're now approaching law, right? So what we were looking at in terms of the old laws, how the old systems were, what was from the colonial elements have been changed. We're now looking at new ways of being able to, how we're going to take cases forward and it's being called different things, all of that. When I work with students, and I want to put this to Professor Shashank as a question so that you can help me, where I get a little bit stumped because I know part of it, but I'm not sure if I know it all. And I'd love to be able to get your input on this. One of the toughest things that for me becomes difficult to answer is AI is happening. AI is going to do everything for us, right? So we almost feel like we're going to have to give up everything. AI is taking over. Data science is happening. AI is happening. So much technology. How is this going to impact legal careers? What does the future look like for legal careers, especially in the light right now that is AI and data and so much tech? So I want to get your opinion because this is a question I want to be able to answer for people.
Yes, thank you so much. Wonderful to be here to start off. Now, the question that you asked is extremely pertinent in today's situation. When we talk about AI, I want to answer it in two different prongs. The first part is how AI is being used in the field. And the second part is the opportunities which are being created because of AI, because of the absence or lack of legal framework which is out there, which is creating new problems. Now, let's talk about the first part first. In US, in India, the AI has not been successfully used as much as it is being used in countries like US, and the reason is that we lack the fundamental elements of building a AI. That is the importance of databases. So the legal databases, the what we call jurismetrics. which is a very strongly developed in US for last about 100 years, is not as developed in India. And therefore, to train a AI model becomes a problematic issue. So that's the first thing. But nevertheless, we can be very sure that in coming 5 years, that is not going to remain a problem, and AI is going to take over a lot of it. But
Right.
then we have some time to learn from what has happened in US.
Ah, okay. Hmm.
In US, a lot of the AI models, specifically AI which was built upon a platform called Watson by IBM.
Hmm.
So they built a platform on top of that for contract drafting, contract vetting, and all of that. And it was able to do much more work in terms of contract drafting, in terms of contract vetting,
Okay.
than a human would in fraction of a time. The time what a person would take about a month to do, AI was able to do in seconds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So now the question is, does that mean that lawyer's job is over?
Yeah.
And the straight away answer is no. The point is, if you are able to leverage on the technology,
Hmm.
I like to see it from the experience that I have had with transitioning from a student to a professional. When I was a student, computers were not as much used in law chambers.
Right.
Computers were used, but the extent of their use was probably shifting from typewriter to a computer, so used to taking prints. That's about it. For research purposes, the lawyers were still focusing on books, reading of those AIRs. So any lawyer's chamber that you would go to, you'll find those brown bounded books or black bounded books, many of them. So, but now if you go to any modern lawyer's office, you'll probably find one big screen with a keyboard and a mouse. That's about it, because all the
Yeah.
information which is there is being used. And therefore, a lot of work, the menial job of law, which is probably when you have all the content, then putting it together to weave a story and all of that, probably that job will be affected a lot by AI. So people who were using what do you say? So in a lot of you have worked in a lot of you would know a lot of people who would go to Google and find a template and fill out the template and somehow create petitions and all of that.
Yeah.
That job is probably over, or it'll be over very soon.
So the clerical sort
Exactly.
of
But
stuff
the
will get really impacted.
exactly. But the human element is so deep in legal practice,
Right.
especially counseling, working with a client,
Right.
working with a judge, right? So there's so much human element involved and creativity involved. So derivative work may be replaced. Original work will never be replaced by AI. AI cannot learn anything which is not produced to it, which is not part of its database on which it is trained. So therefore,
Right.
the
So,
human part of it becomes very important.
okay. So as a lawyer or as future lawyers, areas such as templates and doing the research, things like that, those will get sorted. But areas such as wanting to develop a legal strategy or how you're helping a client deal with a problem or what has gone into making the document the way it is from the human element, that still definitely is going to require a human interface because the document doesn't reflect that creativity and thought process.
Exactly.
The output is there, but what went behind it to create it is not being reflected. Have I
So
understood that correctly?
yes, and in terms of that, one more point I would like to add is there are certain things which were written off probably earlier as probably not, at least not people did not think them as the greatest career moving ahead, but they
Right.
have made a very strong comeback. And those skills which were very niche in some areas at some point of time, but they have gathered so much importance across the different disciplines, such as psychology. Psychology was very niche discipline. There are very few people going in that direction, and there was.
Yeah.
But now, understanding of psychology or psychology has become such an important skill for a lawyer, because the skills that they were dependent on, you have as a legal assistants to do that, the AI assistants to do that, right? But the
Got it.
human skills, communication skills have come up with a, what do you say, become very important in today's time for a lawyer.
I'm glad you mentioned skills because I want to segue to my next question. As
Yes.
an aspirant of career in law, one, two, in terms of the skill sets you look for when somebody is applying to your university, what are the skills that aspirants in wanting to get into law should be working on now or should develop that will help them, one, a, get into your university or get into a law course in your university, and two, help them to be good lawyers? What would be those skills that you would say, listen, if I was to give you my top 5 7 whatever it is, these are the things students should definitely have? I would love to be able to hear what are the skills students should be working on.
So this, I always come down to three skills, three basic skills for any lawyer, law student, anything to do with law, and not just law. Probably it is very common among all the disciplines and all the careers which are
Yeah.
there. That is read, write, and speak.
Okay, perfect.
Right. So when it comes to interpersonal skills, these are the skills that is very important. When we talk about writing, at the student level, we are expecting that at least a student is able to formulate a thought process, the write down their thought process in clear cut manner, right? So that
Right.
they're able to express in their own writing. They're able to, in terms of reading, they're able to read something and understand at least the literal meaning
Hmm.
coming out of it. If you are able to understand the context of a writing, if you are able to understand the tone of a writing, these are always plus points. Then when it comes to speaking, a law in terms of professionalism is still a very formal uh, career, right? So there's a very peculiar way in which we talk. We are very particular about who we are talking to and which tone we are using
Right.
in that sense. So the sense of speaking in terms of what, when, how to speak, that becomes very important. And later on, as the skill set we work on, that writing skill translates into drafting skills.
Correct.
That uh, uh, talking skills translates into arguing skills.
Right.
Right. So, and again, reading skills translates into reading of and summarizing cases, right?
Yeah.
Creating briefs. So that is essentially the three elements: read, write, and speak.
Brilliant. If I am not a huge public speaker, but I'm fascinated by law, is there still space for me in the legal profession?
I'll
I
tell,
get very scared if I have to do public speaking, but oh, I find the law so interesting. Can I still work in the fraternity, work in the field?
I'll tell you, 80% probably, or a little bit more, not less for sure. 80% at least of the students who enroll into study in law will never see a courtroom,
Hmm.
right? So that's how it works. A lot of the students actually join companies as in-house counsels, and
Oh, okay. Yeah, lovely.
that's a huge career option that a lot of the students opt for. People work in law firms, and now the era of law firms is going to change drastically, because I was reading just about 15 days ago probably that Bar Council of India has allowed the law firms in England, law firms based in England, to work in India.
They've been
That
talking
is,
about letting foreign law firms in for the
yes,
last 20 years. Yeah,
yes. But now, finally, at least Bar Council of India has agreed. Not completely, they cannot argue in an Indian court, but they can have an office in India. They can consult clients in India on international law and European law issues. So at
right.
least we are opening doors somewhere, and that will create huge employment opportunities, because if they're working in India, they'll need people from India to work along with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that also means, therefore, if I've understood it correctly, that look, students who are going to eventually work with the companies that are foreign law firms here, an understanding of global
Yes.
What's happening in the world is going to be important. So general knowledge will probably be a very important element that will become part of what you're doing in the reading skill that you've spoken about.
General
Yeah.
knowledge is what do you say, outcome of regular reading, and regular reading is something that I would advise every law student, be it newspapers, be it news magazines.
Yeah,
Have a reading habit. Keep yourself updated.
absolutely. I agree. How do you think when we're looking at the practice of law changing over the next decade, right? One is the fact that foreign firms will come. So there'll be that whole global,
Hmm.
more global than already. There's to be tech involvement that you said. But the practice of law, how do you think it's going to change in the next decade?
Okay, the first few things which is going to change. So when I look at change, I take a frame of reference again of what is the change that I saw happening. So
Right.
when I started working, when I started visiting law firms, and I worked with a few for a brief period, but then what I saw that computer skills, which was never thought to be a skill which is important in litigation or lawyering, became a pivotal point of it. If you did not have computer skills, I was talking to one of my alumni a few weeks back, and
Yeah.
he told me, sir, one of the most important skills that you taught me and which is being used right now is I know how to use Excel. Right. So
All right. Great.
it becomes computer skills became such an important part that sometimes it takes lead over even the legal skills.
Hmm.
Right. Especially in corporate jobs and corporate roles. Right. And now that translates to situation as we are heading now. Your skills in understanding data structures, your skills in understanding how different data works, working around data, that becomes very important. Newer, see, I always tell my students that if you are working in, let's say, a land law domain, and if you're going on litigation, there is a 80-year-old man sitting in every court who has 60 years of worth practice, and for the life of you cannot beat him in what he does.
Hmm.
But if you are working in, let's say, blockchain,
Yeah.
right? Uh, One of my person's students was again talking to me about that, sir, this company is looking to hire 50 blockchain lawyers, and I did not have students enough to give them, right? Because it's such a niche area that in the entire country there are very few people who understand blockchain technology to understand blockchain technology law. If
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
understand the context, you do not understand the law of it. So something like, think about this. In 2012, we had the first startup which was working in the space industry. It was named Dhruva.
Hmm.
Right now, the number has increased to 200. In just a matter of 12 years, we have 200 companies, about 200 companies working in space law, space area of space, is space exploration, satellite technology, and all of that. And how many students do we have? How many professional legal professionals do we have who know or understand the practice of space law? Right. So, and this is again, this is present. Right now, people who will be joining law school will be graduating in the year 2029.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. The world will not be the same as it is today. Right.
Agreed.
AI technology is not going to remain as it is today, or blockchain technology or space exploration, all those new areas are not going to remain the same. It's very important to have an eye to the future. Is what is coming up, what is going to generate the job in 2029. Because if you are the, what do you say, you start with those practices moving into legal career, what happens that you do not have to literally go against what we call the old guard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. True.
You do not have that competition in front of you, and you have the first movers advantage.
Yeah. Agreed. So areas like space law definitely are going to grow. Even an area for which you are a PhD candidate, which is competition, has also been one that's been a growing space. I think when
Mm.
competition law got introduced about 10 odd years ago, there wasn't really that much happening in competition law in India also. And I think there are other areas. Uh, when we're able to look at areas like, say, cybersecurity or data privacy, those areas, have you seen companies coming towards you being able to say, hey, I need graduates who understand these parts?
A lot. Data privacy after GDPR came in. So it started with GDPR in Europe, and when the Data Protection Act in India got passed,
Yeah,
and then you had all those compliances for all the companies, right? Not just that, there are a lot of ISO certifications for companies who are working in commercial spaces, such as, let's say, if there's an e-commerce website,
yeah.
there's an ISO certification which certifies that this particular e-commerce website hosts genuine reviews and not
Hmm,
fake
hmm,
reviews.
hmm, hmm.
Right. I'm not aware of any company which has actually got certified under the certification. But then with these standardizations coming in, you'll need lawyers to do compliances to begin with.
Right.
Right. Then you will have the privacy and data protection issues. And data, if we are able to understand data as property, if you think about this, we understand right now how a property can be stolen.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we know how to go, what approach do I take if my cell phone is stolen. I'll go to police station, I'll file an FIR, and that's the process. People are not aware of when their data is stolen.
Hmm, hmm.
And as the digital literacy goes up, people are start understanding data as their property. You will have more demands for cyber lawyers. You'll have more demands for lawyers who are working with data and understand the security of data and how they are stolen and how what it works with. So even in the litigation space, there's a lot of work which is going to come in terms of data protection, privacy issues, and companies. When you if you talk about it right now, as every company wants to have a corporate lawyer to look at corporate compliances,
Yeah.
right now most of the bigger companies have at least one person who is your cybersecurity professional, or what do you say, cyber privacy professional. Right, there are so many certifications which are being launched for privacy professionals, CIPP and all of that. And that space is going to grow because the companies need lawyers who are dealing with data, and that is specialized knowledge. Not every lawyer will have the access to that
Correct.
knowledge.
Yeah, that those are niche areas to get in. So, like you mentioned, that there's going to be new areas that are going to come in. There is already a demand for these new spaces. For younger lawyers, it makes sense for them to start going into these new areas. Um, there's questions in the chat regarding environment and sustainability law, being able to look at things like sports law. Do you see an uptick in these areas as well?
Huge. Let's start with sports law. Let me give a few more, throw a few more subjects out there.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
focus too much on technology. Even the social side, there's a lot. So if you look at, let's say, sports law, already government has made its view clear that they want to bid for 2036 Olympics.
Right.
And if India has to bid for 2036 Olympics, we do not have a consolidated set of laws which we can call sports law. It's fragmented, it's in parts here and there, in bits and pieces, right?
Huh.
And therefore there is no synergy between those sets of laws. And that is the reason why we find people, the sports bodies not being able to run properly, so many controversies coming out of different sports bodies in the country and all of that. Therefore, India, if it has to bid for 2036 Olympics, the first thing that
Huh.
it needs to do is to develop sports infrastructure and sports law, legal infrastructure. And we are actually, we were working with one of the leading lawyers here, Mr. Kamath, to understand what are the sports law requirement. And we worked deeply with that and developed a curriculum. We're sitting with him as well. So
Oh, how cool.
that is one thing. Even in sustainability, sustainability is right now, probably in last 5 to 10 years, it's been the driving agenda behind every policy. We are looking at sustainability from a global perspective. Every country in the world is making laws which are driven by the principles of sustainability. In fact, a few months back, the academic team, we sat together, and I would love to inform you that we have actually mapped each of our subjects with sustainable development goals.
Brilliant.
So that is something which
That
we are
is
very
very
proud
cool.
of.
Yeah, and it's very required also at this stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
One more thing. Let me throw a social situation out there as well. We already saw LGBTQ issues being raised so much, right? And it doesn't matter which side of the debate you are.
Yeah.
The fact is here, the law is here, right? It's uh, cases are being fought in Supreme Court, cases are being adjudicated. We have the removal of Section 377 of IPC. That was one a big step. The marriage was being contested. It was though denied by Supreme Court, but it's going to grow. And when we are looking at, let's say, right now, if we go by the my last reading suggests that there are about 72 differently identified orientations. I
Yeah.
think about this. If law starts recognizing them, we'll have our adoption laws being changed, we'll have our property laws being changed.
Absolutely.
So there's so many changes which will come through that. And are you prepared to look at those changes? Are you prepared to understand those changes? That becomes very important.
True. The ripple effect we need to be able to think about.
Yes.
And I think understanding that ripple effect becomes very important when we go forward in terms of anybody wanting to become a lawyer, I think should also be very well versed in understanding that everything has a ripple effect. And have you been able to connect the dots? So yeah,
Yes.
that's very true. What do you feel are the biggest challenges and biggest rewards of a legal profession?
Okay. Biggest challenge is long hours.
Long hours. Yeah, okay.
There is nothing without it. So a career in law is a hustle. It's a
Hmm.
hustle because at no point of time you absolutely know what knowledge you are going to be required to have, right?
Yeah.
There's, so as a lawyer you are expected to know absolutely everything. If a pharmaceutical company comes to me for a patent law case, I am required to know what composition of the medicine is. So I'll have to research on that. So there's a plethora of reading, there's wide reading which will be required. So I always say, even to my students, that when you're reading, don't even think twice about what you're reading about. You have no idea when it will become useful.
True.
Pull out a philosophy book, pull out a psychology book, pull out a history book, right? Everything will be useful at some point of time. And it's not just me, it is something that Mr. Fali Nariman was stating, a great lawyer, in one of his interviews, that people who know only law are boring lawyers. That
Hmm.
is his exact words, that if I remember it right. So yeah, so that is, if you say what is the benefit, I'll say the most important part is this is something that one of my teachers used to say, and that is something that has stuck with me. That we sometimes feel that our role is probably as important or more important than even a doctor sometimes,
Hmm.
because as the doctor saves lives of people, lawyers save character,
Hmm.
lawyers save reputation, lawyers save personality, lawyer saves personhood. So it's one of the oldest profession in the world, and in terms of that, being part of that legacy and taking the world forward in a way that it does good to everyone. So you are part of a very huge wheel which is running the
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
right? And when you understand your role in that wheel, that is instantly satisfying.
True. And I think I like to be able to point out to students that law is not like suits. So you have to remember it's not going to be like a TV show. And if your senior lets you go at 9:30 after you've done research, you have a very nice senior apparently. At 9:30 at night, I mean, right? So that means you have a very nice senior because they've let you go home at 9:30 at night. But okay, great. So, uh, challenges in terms of long hours. There is a lot of learning. It is a lifestyle. You have to continue to learn every day. And I think great lawyers are the ones who
It
are
doesn't
constantly
stop.
connecting. Yeah, they're constantly reading, constantly learning. Perfect. What kind of undergraduate programs does your university offer specifically for law? I mean, is it a general degree? Do you have specializations? So, if you could give us a little bit of input on that, that would be great.
So we have a dual specialization program in terms of there are two programs, which is BLLB and BBLLB programs. So both of them are dual specialization programs. That means you
Okay.
have two levels of specialization. The first level comes after the completion of first year, where you choose, let's say if you're doing, let's say BLLB, you choose either sociology, political science, economics, or mass communication as your specialization. If you're doing BBLLB, you choose management, finance, or mass communication. Mass communication is common between them, so as a specialization.
Right.
When you reach the third year of law, then you are given option to choose one of your honors papers. So there are five different sets of honors paper. You have business law honors, you have IPR honors, international law honors, criminal law honors, and constitutional law honors. So these are the five honors subjects. Now, Bar Council of India does recognize honors uh, uh, courses as specialized courses. So it's
Okay.
you have to like study extra subjects to have an honors degree as
Right.
compared to past course. Then couple of very specialized thing that we have in the final year of law, we have something called ability enhancement courses. Now,
Okay.
ability enhancement courses again is a choice-based course. There's a bucket of courses, and you can choose four different courses from that bucket. Now, the idea of ability enhancement courses is that there are so many new areas of law which is developing, and as I said, in 2029, what is going to be relevant, I wouldn't know today.
Right.
So going forward, if I get to know, if we think that there is certain area of law which is going to become very important, we add to the bucket. So right
Mm.
now, if we talk about today we have SDG Sustainable Development Goals as ability enhancement course. We have religion and law as one of the course. Hate crimes and law as one of the courses. We have courses on infrastructure development law, because after RERA has come in, infrastructure development is very important.
Yeah.
We have law on public-private partnerships, which is a ability enhancement course. With like last year, when there's announcement of so much capital expenditure by the government in the budget, we understood that this area of law, which is the government infrastructure, public spending, is going to develop a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So we have gender justice and law as a specialized paper. Again, I talked to you about 72 different gender identities, how that is going to change the law. We have contract drafting, which is one of the skills which is picking up importance very much in last 4 to 5 years,
Yeah.
where the students are sometimes, especially if they are going to a career in companies, people think that they must know it first, and before that,
I think
uh,
even in law firms, it is very important to have the right
exactly.
contract drafting skills. Yeah.
There was a time when people would just walk into a company or a law firm, and it was job of the law firm or the company to teach them how to draft contracts. That
Yeah.
time is
Yeah.
probably gone, right? People are required to have some drafting skills as at the very outset of onset of their career. So you have these courses as ability enhancement courses. There is a bucket of about 20 courses which we develop in consultation with the leaders in the field. Uh,
Okay.
so we have law, artificial intelligence and law, Internet of Things and law, blockchain technology and law. So we have very futuristic courses as it exists today, and all of them are research-based courses.
Okay.
So because there is no absolutely no law in these areas, so we understand by practices, we understand by theory, so that when the law does come in, our students do have the first movers advantage in the field.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And we do have then further going on LLM and PhD courses, and we also have 3 year law courses which are can be availed after graduation. So that's the course structure.
So, what would be the process of getting admission, the eligibility criteria? What kind of students do you look at? Does it matter what stream I'm from? What do you look at when you're trying to bring the right person to be a part of your university?
So the process is very simple. We accept CLAT score, LSAT score, or we have our own test as well that is called ACLAT,
Okay,
Alliance Common Law Admission Test. Uh, so either of these scores. So the point of the written examination, be it your CLAT, be it LSAT, be it our own test, the idea is to understand whether the student has the basic understanding or capability of solving problems, and therefore whatever exam it be, if you have competed in it and scored well in it, then that shows that you have that ability. The second
right.
stage after you completed your uh, admission test, whichever one you have taken, the second stage is an interview. Now in the interview, we look at a person's, what is the motivation. That is the first question, generally, that I ask in the interviews that I take, right?
Hmm,
What is the motivation? Why are you doing law?
right.
Because sometimes even rejecting a student is good for them,
Hmm,
because they might have a flair for something, that they might have a aptitude or for something, and they're doing law because somebody told them to. That is another
interesting.
thing that I want the students to think about. It is, don't go by what people are saying about a career in law, what I am saying about career in law. They have to find out whether it is meant for them.
Yeah.
It may be very fascinating. Law is a upcoming career. So, in terms of placements, uh, universities of law are beating any management, any engineering school, hands down. But the point is whether you are one of the people who are going to do that, whether you
Hmm,
have the aptitude for that. Because it's a long course, it's a 5-year course. You
yeah.
cannot afford to go wrong on this.
So I can be from any stream. I give an entrance exam, I give an interview,
Absolutely.
and I
I
then am part. I should ideally be passionate about the area. I should be strong with my reading, my writing,
Yes, that's
and
very
my
important.
speaking to certain extent. Obviously, being able to at least defend my argument when I'm speaking. I may not need to be a public speaker, but I can still be. I should be able to
That is,
articulate my
yeah,
ideas.
that is something that we actually, even if you're not a good public speaker to begin with, right? Because till class 12th, let's face it, we have a system of written examination. You do not
Yeah.
have that kind of exposure. A lot of the students do not have that kind of exposure to public speaking. We do try and ensure that the students, by the time they graduate, they are confident speakers as well, confident public speakers as well, right? So even if you're not coming in, we ensure that you are a good public speaker going out.
Which brings me to a very important question. What kind of opportunities are given to students to try and learn their skills? And what kind of things do you suggest in terms of, internships or experiential learning opportunities that students have it at Alliance?
Okay. So starting with, as you said, internship. Internship is probably the most important uh, part apart from the curricular. So if you talk about co-curricular activities, internships is the most important part of it, because internships allows companies to assess your attitude and your aptitude, and
Yeah.
therefore good internship experiences translate into pre-placement offers.
Okay.
So now what we do is the internships begin with right from the very first year. 20 weeks internship is mandatory as per the Bar Council of India. They say that to be eligible to have hold a law degree, you have to have at least 20 weeks of internship.
Okay.
We give 40 weeks of internship break in 5 years, double of
Over
the
5 years.
requirement. Yes. So
Okay.
the idea is that you get as much exposure as possible in working, in understanding the practice of law, and therefore uh, through that, what do you say, create a career for yourself, make a path for yourself. The second part is at the skill level. Right
Hmm.
from the first year, we train them for moot courts. Moot courts is a part of their curriculum right from the very first semester. So every semester they are going to have moot courts, and that allows us to prepare the students for moot courts at national and international level. Right, so our students do participate in every important national moot court competitions, including your international moot court competitions such as Jessup, such as Williams, Philippa Williams, and uh, the environment Stetson environmental law moot. So our students do participate in a lot of these important events. Now what
Okay.
happens, because they participate in that, the people who are coming to judge them in this,
Hmm.
they may be senior associates or senior partners of law firms. They may be judges of the High Court. They may be senior advocates. And then they create their own network. It's a very good networking opportunity as well.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
they meet students from different law schools. And therefore, they are able to connect with each other on a professional level. And that helps in a longer run.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another thing. And moot courts allow you to develop your research skills. It allows you to develop your arguing skills, and that allows you to develop your confidence as well.
Right.
Third thing, which is very important, there are two more things that I would quickly brief about. So, next thing is the legal aid. We have a very active legal aid clinic. So it works in association with Karnataka Legal Services Authority. So what happens
Okay.
is a lot of people who are not able to afford a lawyer, they want people who are fighting their cases pro bono, and they go through the Legal Services Authority. We work with that Legal Services Authority. Our students work with them on a daily basis, doing their research, doing their work. So essentially working and doing good for the society as well. So giving what you say, it gives them some sense of purpose as well, fighting for the needy people, people who cannot afford to
Yeah.
have a lawyer. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is our flagship mentorship program.
Okay.
So we have joined hands with the big general counsels of the biggest companies in the country.
Okay. Interesting.
They come to the campus every month and
Huh.
talk to the students on one-to-one basis. So every corporate mentor has a bunch of about 10 students whom he has to mentor,
Okay.
and they give them personal mentorship, saying that okay, this is the areas that you need to work on, these are things that you need to study. So that's ensuring that they have understanding of what is expected out of them when they go out for a job. So that is something that is that we place very high reliance on. So that is at the institutional level, that is at the curricular level.
Yeah.
Even at a teacher level, every subject every subject which is mapped with what we call HOTS, that is higher order thinking skills.
Okay.
So essentially, we are ensuring that the higher level of which starts with analyzing goes up to creation. So from analysis to creation, that is higher order thinking skills. We ensure that
Right.
every single subject is mapped to that. That means we are ensuring that the students are able to achieve that. So that is another thing which makes the curriculum very competitive, very what do you say? Sometimes even difficult. So yeah, so that's the point, and we integrate the understanding with the corporate demands, because we integrate so much. So when we are talking about the corporate data, we are talking about the biggest of the companies, and apart from that, we have joined hands with one of the biggest MOOC platforms in the country, that is massive online learning platform in the country, and all the courses of that MOOC platform, which may be hosted by University of Amsterdam, which may be hosted by Harvard University, different universities across Europe, US, and some of them from India as well. They host their short courses on that MOOC platform. all those courses are free for our students. So what happens that whatever is not available in the university, we have resources to teach you that as well.
Right.
Right. So that's the entire system of ensuring that the students have the required skills, not merely knowledge, because a knowledge which does not translate into skills is not monetizable, does
True.
not
I
create
completely
value.
agree. Yeah. So if a student is looking at being able to get into your university, just to recap for everybody, they can be from any stream. They give an entrance exam, either the CLAT or the LSAT or your own entrance exam. They have an interview process. They should be very clear and passionate about wanting to get into law. At the university, they will have opportunities of being able to do moot courts. We'll give them litigation experience, sort of being able to understand that, how to handle court, how do you draft. You are also giving them skill enhancement pieces, which are things like drafting skills or being able to learn about different areas of law. And of course, you're also talking to industry to amend your curriculum to
Curriculums.
suit
Yes.
industry. Have I understood
Yes.
that correctly?
Exactly. Yes.
Perfect. I found the fact that you are bringing general counsel in from companies to be mentors very powerful, because I think that's very important. Where somebody who is learning gets to work with someone who's been working for 25 years and sort of gets that input from them about what is actually happening on the ground in the industry. And they're
Exactly.
able to sort of get their understanding, and then they're able to correct course if required.
And they get to hear from the recruiters themselves what they expect out of them.
What are they
These
looking
are
for?
these are
Yeah.
people who are recruiting as well.
Yeah. No, I understand that. That's nice. I think I found it very interesting. What is something that I keep telling students is make sure that if nothing else, your computer skills are working. The fact that your alum said that, one of the things that I'm using is my ability to use Excel. No matter what it is, please at least get familiar with Word, PowerPoint, and Excel is what I keep telling
Very true.
students. If you're
Very
not
true.
getting familiar with analytics, it's a different story. But at least Word, PowerPoint, Excel, you're going to have to use. Okay. All right. Um, so there was when we're looking at somebody's mentioned something about practicing law outside of India. I think it's only when you're aligned to being able to do law from that country that you can
Hmm.
practice over there. Yeah.
So every
Um,
country has their own different rules. So in US, you have to pass state-wise bar examination. You have examination which allows you to practice in UK and most part of Europe as well. So there are different examinations, which so in US you also have to complete your JD before you can give the bar
Yeah,
exam
I think
there.
the US anyway becomes tough. US becomes difficult because each state is different. Each,
Exactly.
and if you're practicing in one state, you can't practice somewhere
No,
else. And
that's it.
if
Exactly.
I'm certified for New York, I can't do anything in California. So
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
for us, at least in India, one of the biggest advantages is I've got a law degree. If I'm recognized by Bar Council, I can practice across the country.
But one more thing I'd like to add that okay, for practicing you have this problem, but the companies do recruit. We have a lot of
Absolutely. Yeah,
students.
I agree. I
Yes,
agree. Yes.
because
Yes.
law is such a global thing that so let's say contracts, arbitration. These are things which beyond borders are it's skill based more than anything else. So the skills which are required for negotiations, contract negotiations, for preparing arbitration documents and all that, that is quite universal in nature.
Yeah. So I may have studied in India, but in terms of my contract skills and otherwise, I'll still end up being able to work in a company that could be headquartered anywhere in the world, actually, and I could go and work anywhere
A
else because,
freelance.
yeah, perfect, wonderful. Um, there is somebody who's asking about LPOs. Now, I'm not sure what you feel now with the elements that are happening in terms of the number of changes happening with law. Do you think we're going to still have space for LPOs in as we go forward?
Obviously that's not see till the time that the dollar rates are higher, LPOs are going to flourish. The basic fundamental why LPOs work is that a lawyer which will cost let's say $1,000 in US,
Yeah,
the same work can be done by a lawyer in India, and with the what is the cost of living in India, uh, the amount becomes much cheaper. So probably he'll be able to get it done in less than $100, right? So that differential till it sustains, LPOs are going to have that future, and
yeah,
it's going to grow. It's going to grow because What happened during COVID? A person sitting in, let's say, Tamil Nadu could appear in Supreme Court of India. That had not happened before, right? It
True.
happened because the technology was there, right? A person sitting in, let's say, Bangalore had this disadvantage that if he had a case in Supreme Court of India, he had to give it to somebody else to fight that. He could not have fought that being in Bangalore. Now he started appearing. This is how technology is changing legal profession.
Yeah.
And with the technology, what is going to happen more and more is a lot of the jobs can be done remotely. And if they can be done remotely, a lot of the jobs which are required in US can be done in India.
Yeah. Fair point. As we're coming to a close, I would like to be able to ask you your final tips and advice to students who are, one, applying to your university and specifically applying for the law program to your university. If you could let them know, one, how can they do that right now? If admissions are admissions still open to your
Yes,
university?
yes. Admissions are
Okay, so
open.
admissions are still open to those students who may want to be able to do that. So what would your advice be? And please give them the tip that you would like to be able to have them share.
So there are few points that I'd like to mention towards the end. First thing is embrace technology. That's a sine qua non. You cannot do without it, right? Uh, if you are not acquainted with computers, get acquainted with computers. Use
Yeah,
MS Words, MS Excel, MS PowerPoint. If you already know how to use that, probably start learning about data analytics or data visualization. Start learning a new tool. Your computer knowledge should keep growing. You should keep learning. Second thing, I would say, read. It doesn't matter what you read. Reading becomes a habit, and when you have that habit, even reading uh, what is subject books does not become a problem. So reading is extremely important.
yeah.
Third thing, and the last thing that I want to say is always work on your interpersonal skills. Work on your interpersonal skills. Talk, see how you connect with the people around you. How do you connect with your parents? How do you connect with your teachers? How do you connect with your friends? Because these are uh, also skills, right? If you go along with everybody of every type, every kind of person, with every temperament, with every ethnicity, with every different cultural background, every person coming from different understanding, and if you are able to connect with them, that's a huge skill that is going to manifest in great things in future. So work on your interpersonal skills.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are at almost at time. We've covered a large amount of information. I am completely on your side with the read as much as you can. I'm one of those people who will completely say that. I think the more you read, the better you write, the better you speak. And lots of new opportunities, lots of exciting courses that they have. I think definitely please check out Alliance to be able to see what are the new age, because they are actually doing a lot more stuff that's very new age when it comes to being able to look at tech, being able to actually embrace technology when it comes to law, which sometimes is not done so readily, right? And so it's important to be able to check that out. Thank you so much, Professor Shank, for your thoughts and your
Thank
ideas.
you
I
so much. Thank
appreciate
you
them
so
a
much
great deal.
for calling me.
And since admissions are open, please go ahead and check out the admissions page and reach out to us if you have any further questions on Alliance. We'll put you on to the right people. Yeah, all the best to everybody. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Professor Shashank. I appreciate your
Thank you.
time. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.